Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Devin Sears, and I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Keith Coulter, and we are here talking today about building your first website. And we're going to get into some fundamentals for beginners, and we're going to look at some design aspects and elements, everything you need in order to get your first site up and running without any issues. But before we jump into the content, a little bit of background. We are lucky to have Keith with us today. He is our senior manager of our WP Live support team, which means he is constantly helping customers with their websites. He is day in and day out helping people improve their site design, building their first website, everything that they need in order to get a great looking website that they're proud of. Keith is there to help constantly. Some of you may have even spoken with him on the phone when you've reached out to us previously. And as usual, I'm your host, Devin Sears. I'm the senior field marketing manager, and we are both happy to have you here today. Before we jump into things, though, there's always a few housekeeping items to go over. The first one is I want to make sure that our audio is transmitting. So if you can, find the chat box and tell us where you're tuning in from. This lets us know that we are transmitting our audio. This lets us know where our audience is joining us from. And this lets us know that you found the chat box as well. And also, if you can, I'm curious if you can put a number in the chat box as well and let us know how many webinars you've attended before. If this is your first one, you can just put a number 1 in there. And if you've been to a handful, I'm very curious to see how many people have come back and how many people are here for the first time. One other request, just since I'm asking you to drop some things in the chat, if you can put in there any topics you'd like to see us cover in the future. We're always looking to make this educational and engaging. We've heard from a lot of people that they'd like to have this particular webinar where we go over how to build your first website, some tips and tricks, some design elements. So I'm excited for that. If you have any questions that come up throughout the webinar today, please drop them in the Q&A tab. I will actually be off camera and off mic trying to monitor those, trying to answer those the best of my ability. But if there are any questions that I don't know the answer to, or that I think that the entire group would benefit from, then I'll hold those questions for the end, and we'll have a Q&A session at the very end with Keith, and he'll set the record straight. He'll give us a lot more tips at the end, as well as throughout the entire presentation. If you have any issues as the presentation and the webinar goes on, the best thing to do is to exit the webinar and rejoin. If that doesn't work, sometimes quitting your browser entirely and then rejoining, that can help. If that still doesn't help with your issue, go ahead and drop in the chat what your specific issue is, and I will do my best to troubleshoot, and we'll get through this together. If you continue to have an issue and we can't find a solution, don't worry. We are going to send out a recording of today's webinar to everyone within the next 24 to 48 hours. This is the number one asked question. I'm sure we will drop it in the chat a few times, but I will say it now and I will say it later as well. We are going to be sending out a recording of this webinar to everyone who registered. So if you do need to leave, we completely understand. We're sad to see you go, but don't worry. We will be sending this out. Also, if there's something that you missed and we don't have a chance to go back to it and go in more depth, you can use that recording and go back and watch and digest it at whatever pace is comfortable for you. Two other housekeeping items, and then we'll get to the reason you're actually here, and that's to learn from Keith. So if you are tuning in from a mobile device, tapping anywhere on the screen should unmute the stream. Organically, mobile devices start muted. So we're a few minutes into this, so hopefully you found that already, but if not, that's how you get beyond that. And the last thing I want to cover is if you are looking for more help with your website than just this webinar, there is a link at the top of the chat. It says click here to get help with your website. You can click on that, and that will actually get you in touch with Keith's team. I believe it does get you over to our WP Live team. So we want to be here for you as a resource. We want to be here for you as an educational partner. So we are grateful that you've taken time to join us today, and we hope that this is beneficial to you. And I think that's all my housekeeping. So before we get into it, Today's webinar quote says your website should make sense in 5 seconds, not after 5 scrolls. And this kind of hints at one of the design elements that Keith will be talking about more in depth. And that is that you want to make sure that your viewer understands what your website is about as soon as your website loads. If they land and they still have no idea what your website is about, most users will not take the time to try to sleuth out what the point of your website is. They will close it and they will look for a different website. So, um, as I mentioned before, I know Keith is going to get into some design elements and some different things that can help keep your visitors intrigued and on your website. So, with that, Keith, why don't you tell us what we'll be covering today, and you can just jump right into it, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. What our agenda for actually today? Here's what we'll cover: why design matters, how to plan and structure your site, visual hierarchy and layout, topography and color, images and media, branding and consistency, and finally, how to bring it all together. Think of this as your design roadmap. Chapter one: why design matters. Let's start with the big question: why does design matter? First impression counts. In fact, 75% of users judge credibility based on design. Clean and simple design builds trust. Clutter and confusing navigation can turn visitors away fast. So design is your first impression and you have to make it count. Common beginner mistakes. Beginners often overcrowd pages with too much info, use confusing menus, or don't guide the visitor's eye. All of this hurts engagement and makes your visitors leave. What you'll learn to fix. Today, you'll learn how to create a clear layout with natural structure. Keep branding simple with fonts, colors, and logos that work together. Use readable design through spacing, sizings, and contrast. Here's a quick look at what a good design versus a poor design looks like. Here we have the Times website. This is a magazine, so you can consider it just like a blog type. But we see here we have dynamic content at the beginning with some images, some bold text. It's also bringing in the colors from the actual logo. If we hover over text, we see the same color as in the Time magazine. As we scroll down to the areas, we see different sections with structure here, images, more info for other articles that falls under that actual section. We continue, we see some covers articles here, great quality images, and a good structure and layout. Now, let's take a look at a site that may be considered a little bit worse. Let's take a look at Simcast here. As we see here on the site, there's no organization on the site. We do have those sections broken down, but it's a little harder to read. It's not really telling me where to go. It's just giving me sections and content to scroll through and read, versus the actual Times, which breaks it up a little bit so you know what type of information that you are looking for, number one, and it keeps your eyes focused and busy on the actual site. Chapter 2: planning and structure. Up next, planning and structure. Planning your website. Ask yourself, what's my site's purpose? Who is my audience? What do I want them to do? Subscribe, buy, or else contact me. Stay focused. Only add features that serve your actual audience. Simple sitemap structure. Start with a basic flow: home, about, services or portfolio, contact. Avoid clutter. Start small. You can always expand later. Wireframing basics. Sketch a simple layout, header, hero image, body, a call to action, footer. You can use tools like Figma or even just paper. Think of your homepage like a pitch. What do you want uh, visitors? What do visitors need to know? Common layout patterns. There are two natural eye patterns. The first one is F patterns, best for blogs and text heavy pages. Another is Z patterns. This one's best for home pages, landing pages with clear call to actions. Remember, people scan, not actual read. Keep it clean. White space creates focus. Use consistent margins and padding. Less clutter equals more attention on what matters the most. Chapter 3. Now let's talk about visual hierarchy and layout. Layout types. Two main layout types to know is grid layouts. It's a more structured type, balanced and responsive. Block layouts is flexible, is modular, good for storytelling in actual and mobile. Key page sections. Every page should have a header with a logo and then navigation, a hero section with a headline, an image, and a call to action. The body to be broken down into sections makes it easier to digest, easier to read and follow. A footer with contact info and social icons. Now let's go ahead and do another visual demo, and here's some real world examples of what works and what doesn't work. Here is an example of what doesn't work. This site here sells items. As we can see, there's no navigation. It's not telling me what I want my visitors to actually do. It's just displaying the content on the site, and then we're literally just clicking on these items to actually see. We can see a lot of this can be confusing to the actual customer. And just by me visiting it now, I'm actually feeling kind of lost and dizzy myself. So let's go ahead and take a look at another website that we consider good. Here we have a nice clean layout. We have a direct message, good content, oh, happy days. And then there's a call to action arrow here on the sides that's telling us, hey, click this to go see, we'll see what's next. As we scroll through the site, we'll see that these are different slides with different content that's always pointing back to what the site's about, what they want you to do, and so on. Chapter 4, Typography and Color. Typography and color is the secret to a clean professional design. Typography 101. Stick to 2 or 3 fonts max. Use sans serif for a clean look. Open sans type fonts or Lotto. Font size, we really want to stay between 16 to 18 for the body and text. Always maintain a hierarchy. Big headlines, small body. Using colors and contrast. Dark text on a light background is the easiest to actually read. Stick to 2 or 3 colors for your actual palette. Tools like Colors or Adobe Color can be helpful when choosing a color palette. Styling with WordPress. In WordPress, uses the customizer site editor to set fonts and colors globally. Pro tip, choose a theme that matches your audience. It saves you a lot of actual time. Let's go ahead and take a look at this with our visual demo here. So if we log into our site and we go over to the WordPress dashboard here, on the left-hand side, we have the WordPress dashboard menu here. We're going to be scrolling down till we get to appearance. Under appearance, you're going to see themes, premium themes, editor, pop-up builder, and upload theme. We're going to click on editor. Here we have our WordPress editor. This controls a lot of functionality for your actual site. You'll see you have the navigation options here where you could edit pages. You can add things here to the actual menu. We also have pages where you can see your pages that you already built and actually created. And then we have templates. These are page templates that you can use and set it for certain pages. You could create a template for a specific page, or if you have something in mind and you want to build out your checkout page or your 404 page, you can control all those items and what can be displayed. Now, we're going to get back to the styles part because that's where we can really see fonts, colors, typography. So let's go ahead and click on styles here. The great thing about this here, we have our color palette here also. We have our font text right here. It breaks it down to where you could browse other styles. Then we have our typography setting, colors, background, shadows, types of layouts, and so on. We're going to dive into typography first. We'll click there on typography. Now we're going to come up with different typesets for actual typography for your typography settings. We can also select what type of fonts. So let's see here. We're going to use a sans font here. So let's take a look. And we're going to select all. 1 second. Let's click this. And we're just going to update that. You can also upload your own personal fonts. You can install fonts through Google Fonts. So your customization is really up to you. Also in fonts, you'll see other elements. Like we want to set up text here. We can set up text. I'm going to use RoboFlex here. If we wanted to have certain sizes, we could do the sizes here also too. Maybe this is not good enough. We want to be able to dial in and control that size a little bit better. We could click custom size here. Now we have options to where we can control the size. Letter spacing and letter cases also here too. Maybe we want everything to be all caps. We could set it to be all caps. If you see the changing here, maybe we want it to be all lower cases. We can see those changes as we do it here. Let me go back one real quick. Here we go. Now let's go take a look at colors. If we see here, I have my palette I created. Now let's say I don't like these colors inside this actual palette, or I want to adjust them. We can click on this palette, and then we can select the color that we want to actually change. So let's say I wanted to change this dark blue. I could come here. If I already know my hex color key, I could do that here also. But maybe I don't know. I just want to play around and see what's going to fit. You could use this to get to the colors you want here. Let's see, maybe I want to add like this goldish color here. If we see here, the color scheme still fits and flows good. No out of the ordinary colors. You also could set up gradient if you want to do a custom color set for gradient. Once we set our colors, we want to always make sure we're doing the most important thing, and that's saving. Here at the bottom, and then we're going to click Save. Chapter 5. Now let's look at images and media. Choosing the right image. Use high quality and relevant images. A good example of this, if your website's about pizza, we probably shouldn't see a dog there. We should see more a pizza or your product you're selling. Optimize them so your site loads quickly. Use tools like Tiny PNG, Smush are great for this. Hero images should support your actual message. Once again, that goes back to the theory. If we're a site and we are selling items, or we have a pizza restaurant like mine, we want to make sure that the images play into that and not something out of ordinary like a car. Doesn't really have much to do with the actual pizza. Icons are useful for breaking up text also too. We want to use WebP formats for the actual web. These images are made for the web, so uploading them is better for your system. Doesn't take up too much space on your actual site. All right, here's how to build a one-page site using images and icons the right way. So here we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back to the WordPress dashboard. We could do that by clicking on the W here. To create a new page, we want to use the WordPress menu here. We want to come down to Pages, All Pages. The reason why I go to All Pages is so I can see. You could click Add New Page if you just like, and it'll take you directly to that. So let's go Add Page. Here we see my header and my footer already created. Um, just so that you know that I'm using the Bluehost theme. That's usually comes with the Bluehost AI builder. So if you need a little step or a little head start, I should say, the AI builder is great for that. You're able to pick templates and palettes and things like that to get you started. So here we have our header. Here we have our footer. These two items can be edited from this page, but we want to focus more on the middle section here, which is our content section here. So let's start with a title. We're just going to name this Pizza Types. I like to use the navigation area here at the top. This makes it a lot easier for you to see your different blocks and areas. So what we're going to do is, here's our navigation area right here. We'll go ahead, we'll click this. Now we can see our content here. We want to click on that. Then we want to open this area up. We see our paragraph and text here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a row by clicking on this blue plus sign here at the top. It's going to give us our different blocks that we can use. I'm going to type in row in the search. Now, if we can see the difference in these two items here, this is the native one to WordPress here, but I'm also using an add-on plugin by actual Cadence that gives you just a little bit more structure that you can do. It gives you more options. So you're familiar with page builders, like let's say Elementor, Bricks, Divi. This would give you those same type of feel and structure as using an actual page builder. So I'm going to click right here on row layout. Looks familiar to you, right? So now let's go ahead and add a 2-column row here. Now we have 1 column here. We have another column here. For this, we're going to add image to the right column here. And then we're going to add some text over here to the left column. So let's start by adding our first block, an image block. We're going to click on the plus sign here within that column. And then we can simply just type in image. Once again, it gives you some options here. I'm going to use image advance here. And then we're going to select our actual image. If we see here, I already have some images selected. Let's go ahead and grab this image here. We're going to place this image here. Now, if we see here on the right here, we have two tabs. We have page and we have block. So page is whatever settings you need for the actual page itself. It could be your Optimonster settings, could be your Yoast settings also here too for that. We're gonna click on the block tab because we only want to edit the block that we're currently working with, which is this image block here. Now, in this image block, you will see styles, you will see events. In styles, you can control borders if you want to put a background color, if you want to do a box shadow, or if you want to add a drop shadow. There's tons of options here for you to play around with, so you're able to customize this page to your actual liking. For us, we're just going to do something simple here. We're going to add a box shadow. And I think we're going to do this bottom box shadow here. I think it's going to give us a little depth into it. There it goes. Give some little contrast here. You know what? I think I don't like this picture. So you know what we could do to change it? If we click back on the image, you see replace here. Once you click on it, you can just click replace and open media library. If I want to upload a new image, I could also do that too. So let's go ahead and do open media library, because I think I have a better image that's going to add and go for our color scheme a lot better. Here we go. Let's add this one here. There we go. It's tying in those colors from my logo here, my buttons, my footer. Great. I like this image a lot better. Now let's go ahead and add some text. So to add text, we're going to come over to this other column here. We're going to click here on this plus sign to add a block. Then from here, we're going to type in text. Oh, I typed in test. Let's take a look at text. There we go. So there's different text options also too here. We have headings. We even have some custom layouts if you wanted to use one of these items. I'm just going to use the text advance here. Once again, remember, this is the add-on part of the Cadence add-ons for actual the block builder. We're going to click there. Awesome. Now we have our text here. Maybe let's put some text. Let's just do design your own pizza here. Now, once again, we see we have some settings here at the top where we could address. Maybe we want to make this center. We could do center. Maybe we want to make this a H1 text. We could click this. Click H1. Maybe we want to make this bold. We can also make this bold here also too. Maybe we want to even add a link to our text. We could do that from this link icon here. Also, once again, if we go over to the right, we see those tabs again, page and block. Over here, this is going to give us more settings that we could do to control this text. So we're going to do a H1 setting, H1 tag here for that. We could do max width. You know, we don't need any of that. But let's go over the style. Under style, you'll find color. So maybe I want to say, I want to make this pop a little bit. Let me use one of my colors. I add it. Let's add this orange here. Font size. Maybe I want this to stand out. We have these options here too. Now, once again, if you don't like these sizes and you want to have more control, we could toggle this to turn this on here. And then we could set our size. So maybe I just want 50. Once again, we have other settings here. Maybe I want this to be all caps. I like that. And we have more settings where you could do, maybe we don't want this specific font here and we want to change it. We could also come here to font family. Maybe I want to adjust it to, to this font here. We have font weights for bold, things like that, italic. There you go. That looks great there. We also have border options and text shadow settings, text orientation. Maybe you want to do something fancy like this, have your text go all down. You could do that too. We're going to keep the orientation simple here. And then advanced settings, this is where you'll find your padding, your margins. Now let's just add something else underneath this title real quick. So we come back over to the section again, we see the plus sign here. This is going to help us add a block below. There we go. And then I want to select paragraph text. Now here we could add whatever text we want. Here, I'm just going to add choose your toppings. Now maybe I think this font's too small. We could also, once again, come back over to block. We click on styles. We have our font settings here again. These are preset here. If you don't like the preset, once again, we could toggle this on for custom sizes. And maybe we want to do something about 18 for our body. So let's do 18 like so. Then there we go. Now, let's say we wanted to move things around here. We can click and drag things, but what I like to do, as I said before, is use this navigation option here. Document overview, we'll click it. Now it's easier to see, drag and drop columns. Maybe I want to put this column on this side with the image on this side. There we go. I like the way that looks a lot better. Now we'll go ahead and click publish. Now, a couple of things. Publish and save. You'll see publish a lot here. You'll also see save. You want to make sure anytime you're doing something that you're publishing it first, and then once you do any changes, you will see the save there. So we'll click publish. We're publishing that content now. And what I always like to do is always preview the content. So let's click on view page. There we go. Simple, design your own pizza, pizza types, choose your toppings. We have our footer here. We have our header here. Chapter 6, branding and consistency. Create consistency. Create a consistent look. Keep fonts, colors, and buttons consistent across all pages. That consistency builds professionalism and trust. Free branding tools. Great free tools include Google Fonts for typography, Colors for colors, and Canva for building for branding kits. Customize your theme. In WordPress, upload your logo, set your brand colors, and save your styles. This ensures your design stays consistent everywhere. Chapter 7, bringing it all together. Add finishing touches like buttons, footer links, social icons, and contact forms. And always test your site on mobile devices. It's where the most visitors will see it. We're going to build a coming soon page. So here we have our coming soon page, but let me go back a step and let me show you how I built this. If we remember, we came to appearance and editor. And the way I built the coming soon page is actually I created a template. Makes it a little bit easier. And you can be no different than you building it out on the page, but the template just makes it just a little bit easier and it keeps everything organized for you. We're going to go to templates again. We're going to look at all templates and we're going to look at the coming soon page. Now we see here, let's go ahead and open up that navigation. Let's start with branding. If we see here, I have my logo here for Biggie Pizza. If you see, it's sitting on a lighter background for that contrast to help bring out these colors. Also, if you see in this hero section here, I have created, we click on row layout here and we open up the row layout, we'll see that's broken down into sections. Here's our headings. Something delicious is coming. Some more text here also too. We're firing up the oven for something new. The advanced form widget or element, and then a short code. A short code is a small piece of code created by plugins that you could use to bring content onto your actual site. So first, starting with this row here, we're always going to have our settings. So remember, this navigation or document overview, you can open this up, and on the right, you're going to have your block settings. So we're editing this row here. So we have our row layout. You'll always see a title here, so you know what exactly you're editing. So if you accidentally click on the wrong thing, it'll say it over here for advanced text. So with this row here, I added the row. Then I just add some text elements. I added a form element here. Let's take a look at the style for this. Here we added a background image by simply just selecting an image, adding that image, and then setting it so. Wherever we're doing a hero image, depends on what style or look you're going for. I would suggest to use cover, but really just depends on that actual depends on the actual image and what type of look you're going for. We'll also see some background types to add enhancements to your site. So this is the background image attachment here. We could click fixed, and as we see, when we scroll, everything else moves. The image doesn't move with it. Parallax does something very much so similar. We're going to set this to scroll so it all moves together as we scroll. Now let's move down to our next row. Here in our next row, we have an icon, which I'm actually using an actual image for this. But you could adjust the sizes of however you want. One thing I found kind of tricky about this is, let's say you have a really large image. I know some of us will just go to image file size and then just try to do a thumbnail. Yes, that works, but I also noticed that it'll cut off some of your actual image. So what I try to do is leave it full here, like so, and then make my adjustments with the max image width. We're going to set that for 150. If we see here, each of these are set to that same style. This one's a little bit different because the leaves on the side, if we do it to 150, we're going to see that's going to be cut off some of our images here. And the reason why I know this is just from me playing around with it and finding the numbers that looks the actual best. Also here, in this same column, we're going to start with this first section here. We have our image, that's here. We have our menu text, and then we have some text here. Oh, can't see the text. Well, let's take a look at that. We have our color here set to black. So we should be able to see something. Let's take a look at the column, the row below. We're going to look at these layout sections. Look, there is something below this here. Let's take a look at events. See, we have a proportionate margins around it. Okay, that looks great there. Nothing, no negative margins to bring this area up. So let's just do something simple. Let's just check this out. Let's add a bottom padding of 50 to match the top. Ah, there it goes. There go our text. Now let's go ahead and save this. Oh, before I do that, let me show you the last row again. In this last row section here, we have section and we have social icons just set for my Facebook, Instagram, and Yelp. Same thing, you have those same layout styles options here on the right. Let's go ahead and click save. And then let's go ahead and preview the page. Now, since this is a template, if we click preview here, it's going to take us to our home page. This is why I always work with an extra page open. So let's go and open up the coming soon page here. So let's go back. We're going to click back on that W to go back, and then we're going to click on the W again to go back to dashboard. We're also going to go to pages, all pages here. And then we're going to view coming soon page. Awesome. Here we see our logo. I'm using those same colors throughout the site. A countdown to that delicious pizza coming. Preview the menu, delivery options, and fresh ingredients, and our social media icons here also too. Now, right now, let's set this to be the front page. So when people come to the site, this is the page you're going to see and not the home page real quickly. So what we'll do is we're going to click back on this page here. We're going to click on this W to take us back to the dashboard. And we're going to scroll down here. And we're going to go to settings. We're going to go to reading. And we're going to set the coming soon page. That's set. So now if we're viewing this page here, it takes us to that first page. What you can try today. Even if you're busy, here are 3 quick wins. Sketch your homepage layout with your header, your body, your footer. Pick your fonts and color palette. Add your branding and elements into WordPress. More resources. For more help, explore Bluehost WordPress tutorials. Join more of our webinars, or visit the Bluehost blog. Now I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Devin for our Q&A.
All right, my friend, can you hear me okay? Awesome. Thank you so much for walking us through that. I personally enjoy the live demos. I think it really brings it to life. The slides where we talk about, all the best practices, those are always beneficial, but I think when you click through and actually show how to do things, I think that's for me as someone that's still learning, I think that's the most helpful part. So, we do have a handful of questions. We don't have a ton of time, so we'll go through some of these. And if we don't answer your question, then we'll try to follow up via email and make sure that you have all of your questions answered. So to begin, the first question I have here on my list is, how do I choose between the F pattern and Z pattern for my specific homepage or landing page?
Awesome. That is a great question. For F patterns, this is best for heavy pages where people where people will scan like they're reading. This is really good for blogs, article pages, or else long form services pages. For the Z pattern, the best is for simpler pages with a clear, simple goal. Great for landing pages, hero sections, and sign up forms. Rule of thumb is, if your visitor needs to browse and compare, go with the F pattern. If you need to scan and act quickly, go with the F pattern.
Cool. That sounds great. Let's see. How do I know if my navigation is confusing?
So signs that your navigation is actually confusing is visitors bounce quickly from the homepage. Support requests asking where do I find this or how do I get here. Too many drop down layers. Best practices would be to keep the top level menus to 5 to 7 items max. Use clear, plain language about us, not our story and mission. Put the most important links left or center. Call to actions like contact or shop now to the far right.
Perfect. Let me see what other questions we have. Oh, someone asked, how do I build a cohesive color palette if I only have a logo color to start with?
That's a another great question there. Start with your logo color as the primary. If we see from an example of my site, I had orange. The logo had orange in it, so I started from actually that. Add one contrasting accent for your call to actions. Add one or two neutral colors like gray and white. If we saw from my side, I use a lot of white to break up the parts. Also for actually text, so we're not just getting colored bombed, as I say. Use free tools like colors.co and Adobe Color to build harmonious palettes. You can really adjust and play around. We'll play around with things. You probably don't want to use neon colors. Stay away from those types of colors and things like that. And keep it. And you also want to keep it simple. Keep the 3 to 5 total colors for your actual branding.
Yeah, and I've seen online where you can actually put in a couple colors and it'll kind of give you like the harmonious colors and the discordant colors and things like that. So I think you mentioned some of the sites, but there are some sites out there that help you choose kind of harmonious colors and colors that work well. But I also feel like as you're building a brand, and this is my own answer, so take it with a grain of salt. As you're building a brand, I feel like that's your opportunity to get creative a little bit, you know. So it's
Yes.
like if you have if your personality and your brand's personality is a little bit wacky and a little bit out there, then there's no need to stay within, you know, the psychology of colors guidelines on which resonates with what, you know. I think you can pick with what you feel like represents you the most. But I suspect that this individual was asking more so about how to make sure that they're picking a color palette that is cohesive and presents a strong brand that will resonate with their viewers. So um, let's see. There's a few other questions here. I think we're going to get to one or two more. This question asks, how do I design an effective coming soon page that also captures leads?
Awesome. If we saw by my coming to soon page that I created, we started off with the logo at the top of the actual page. And then some one-liners about about what's coming. Something delicious is coming, right? And then the email sign-up form with incentives like early access or free guides, like sign up to receive rewards and discounts. And your social links so people can follow you for actually updates. I put here towards the bottom here. And the best thing I would absolutely say is keep it simple with one main action. We don't want to have a bunch of stuff going on and click here, go here, go here. Let's keep it simple and draw in what exactly you want your visitors to do.
I love that. I think that's great. Was there anything else? I didn't want to cut you off if there was more that you wanted to share about that.
Nope, that's it.
Cool. Let's see. Let's end on this question. What metrics should I track after I launch my page to know if my design is working?
So, some good metrics to actually check is going to be your conversion rate. And this is if our visitors taking your main are visitors taking your main action seriously? Are they, if we're telling them to do something, are they actually doing it? Next thing is bounce rate. Are people leaving without actually engaging the actual page? Time on page. How long is customers or your visitors staying on your actual page? Scroll depth. Are you seeing any key contents for the actual scrolling? And use Google Analytics or Hotjar to monitor and to monitor and to adjust your actual layout. If you see that a lot of people are coming down to a certain area of your site and trying to click something, you probably want to make that stand out more.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think we actually have on our agenda in the future to do a webinar about analytics. So I think during that, we can dive a little bit more into how you set that, how you track that, and how to make sure you are tracking effective analytics. So, uh, Keith, I want to express my gratitude for you joining us today. I really appreciate it. I think this is informative and helpful for people that were participating. So thank you a lot for stopping by and sharing your time and your expertise with us. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. When in doubt, always reach out.
Sounds great. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Bye everybody.